in the wake of the government shutdown, everybody's wondering who's going to crack. Are the Senate Republicans going to crack? Are the Democrats? Is Obama going to crack under the pressure? Now, Obama was on NPR talking about what he will and will not be willing to negotiate on. We've got a couple of great videos in regards to that. Let's watch the first.
Some of their proposals have narrowed down from canceling out funding for Obamacare and focused on items like the medical devices tax, which they want to repeal. Isn't that something that you could discuss? There's a lot of Democrats who've been concerned about that tax.
Keep in mind that from the start, what I have said is I am happy to talk to Republicans about any issue. What we're not going to do is to negotiate whether or not Congress pays its bills and whether or not Congress passes a budget that keeps government open.
If they offered you more, Mr. President, would you be willing then to negotiate things like a delay in Obamacare and the individual mandate?
Steve, let's be clear. We're not going to delay the Affordable Care Act.
Okay, now a little bit later on we're going to have him talking about whether or not he'd negotiate on the debt ceiling, but on the Affordable Care Act, we've got one more video we're going to roll.
And
what can you offer?
If we, Steve, when you say what can I offer, I shouldn't have to offer anything. They're not doing me a favor by paying for things that they have already approved for the government to do. That's part of their basic function of government. That's not doing me a favor. That's doing what the American people sent them here to do, carrying out their responsibilities. But we're not going to accomplish those things if one party to this conversation says that the only way that they come to the table is if they get 100% of what they want, and if they don't, they threaten to burn down the house. That's not a negotiation. So we're not going to do that.
So that sounds strong. I like that. Okay.
Yeah. On day one.
Yeah.
He's strong.
No. As I've explained before, he'll stay strong on this because this is a signature piece of legislation. He's the only reason he compromised on the other stuff before and appeared weak is because he largely agreed with the Republicans and is not really that progressive. Now, on this issue, he's not going to take away his achievement. That would take away from his glory, not what he's going to do. But there was parts in here that I think really needs to be addressed. Now, first of all, my favorite line is, they're not doing me a favor by passing what they're supposed to pass. Yeah, this isn't about, but the Republicans think it is about, like, oh, are you pro-Obama or anti-Obama? This isn't about that. This is about we do government funding, and you have to do it every once in a while, and you fund the government.
The ACA has nothing to do with it.
Right. And please, if you're a stupid conservative, let me try to educate you, okay? When you actually debate what's in the bill and whether you pass it or not, what's in the budget, whether you pass it or not, is when you get to have a discussion about, hey, wait, should we do the Affordable Care Act? Is it going to cost too much, et cetera? We had that discussion. The bill passed. And then you tried to kill it 40 different times. It didn't work. It went to the Supreme Court. It didn't work. Okay, so we already had that. In every budget, we have a conversation, and you guys, say, oh, cut everything, rah, right? Okay, all right, great. And then we have that debate, and then we have a budget. Now, when you go to these shutting down the government things, that's not the time when you go, I would like to relitigate every other thing we've ever done in the Senate, and if I don't get my way, oh, well, no, President Obama's not negotiating. No, but we already negotiated that.
Yeah, okay, so the Senate and the House did discuss it. We had the Supreme Court looked it over, said that it's constitutional, and yes, we've had both midterm and another presidential election between then where, you could go back over it, but Parks Department hasn't looked at it. NASA hasn't said anything about the ACA yet. I mean, we need to kick this out to literally thousands of governmental organizations and bureaucratic organizations. But yeah, and I know we've got a lot more to say. The little thing that I think is the best about this, about how he needs to compromise now, how they will now begin to look for any other normally automatic process of government and make it an optional thing that they can get something out of. I love that Boehner, his main point now is, look, you said that the businesses could get a year delay, but now the poor people, why can't they get a delay too? So because you compromised with us in the past, I will now use that as the rationale for further compromise that I require of you.
What have I been saying?
And I will give nothing. I will give you the automatic process of government that normally, under any other president, would have gone along without even a note on page 5 of the New York Times.
What have I been saying for 5 years? Do not feed the trolls. You only encourage them, okay? don't agree with the Republicans, they will always use it against you. President Obama's like, oh yeah, corporations, you're right, they rule us all, so I'll give them a year delay. Aha! Now you got to give everybody a year delay.
Yeah.
And that's how it works. And just along these lines, I would like to now relitigate several different things. I think the Democrats should not pass any budget as long as the Military Commissions Act, which is a constitutional atrocity, is still on the books. I know it passed, but who cares, right? The Patriot Act. Look, we get to redebate that all the time because it comes up, to reauthorize, right? No. I don't care that we reauthorize it all those times and then we pass it initially. I demand a complete government shutdown until we redo the Patriot Act. I demand a government shutdown until we redo everything that progressives don't agree with. Stand with Cenk. Stand with Cenk, okay, and let's do a filibuster. I mean, the Democrats would never do this. Partly, from time to time, we wish they would stand up a little bit more. But this is an uneven playing ground where one side says, I will relitigate everything using every legitimate and illegitimate means. In other words, they literally have the Malcolm X ideology of by any means necessary. And the other side,
even possibly destroying the global economy,
right?
If that's what it takes.
Exactly. And then the other side has to constantly apologize for not. Like in this case, they're like, why aren't you negotiating with the Republicans? Oh, for Christ's sake, are you kidding me? So speaking of blowing up the entire world economy, well, that would be next if you don't if you don't raise the debt ceiling. So they asked President Obama about that.
You've said you will not negotiate over an extension of the debt ceiling. I just want to make sure that I'm clear on that. If there is no agreement, if the debt limit is reached, if the United States is going into default or at risk of going into default, you absolutely will not negotiate, even in that circumstance?
Absolutely, I will not negotiate. And the reason, Steve, is because if we establish a pattern whereby one faction of one party controlling one chamber in Congress can threaten default, that the United States of America is no longer meeting its obligations and fulfilling the full faith and credit of the United States, unless they get 100% of what they want, then we've established a pattern that fundamentally changes the nature of our government. At that point, any president, not just me, any president is subject to that kind of blackmail.
I know that it's not going to happen, but they need to pass a bill to make it automatic from now on. The government is just, it's not functional enough to have this debate every 6 months. Where every time we have to go for this to raise the debt ceiling, you gotta twist the knife in the back of the American people just a little bit more and get something out of it.
Once again, if you're a stupid person that doesn't understand, well, look, to be fair, that's not right. If you're an ignorant person, because you might be really smart and a conservative, you just don't know how the government works because it's not your field of expertise. You're a dentist, you're a physicist. A Republican physicist, that's a good one. Okay, well, then let me explain it to you really quickly. Raising the debt ceiling is not adding new debt. We have those battles during the budget process, and we should. That's exactly what we should do. Republicans don't want to spend as much. Democrats want to spend a little bit more. You do it during the budget battle. This is money that we have already accrued, debt we had accrued. This is saying, I don't know, I don't feel like paying my debt. All right? Okay, this isn't Jersey. Okay, you're not the Sopranos. You can't just say, China, Saudi Arabia, Social Security recipient. Yeah. Okay.
Is that a Chris Christie impression?
I don't know what it is. I don't know. Paulie Walnuts, maybe. Okay. So, and these guys are walnuts. So you look, and here's President Obama again is somewhat at fault, not because he's not negotiating now. It's insane to negotiate this, right? He's at fault for encouraging them way back in the day. When they first brought this up, he waffled a little bit and he negotiated. The minute they brought up this nuclear option, if you're a president, you say, look, here's how this works, okay? I will not be negotiating with the deadbeat party, okay? The deadbeats apparently don't want to pay their debts, but we're the responsible party, and we're not going to let these deadbeats ruin American credit, okay? America's better than that. These colors don't run. We don't run from our debt. We don't run from our enemies, but apparently the deadbeat GOP party wants to run, but I'm not going to let them. Okay, done.